Oh, it's a bright golden day in the land of 1-0 today. Hey everybody, Tekking here, and welcome back to One Piece, chapter 913 review. It's been a little while, you know, we had a 2-week break there from the last chapter of One Piece, and don't get worried though, and also don't get too excited either, because we're going to be going on another break after this chapter, because I'm pretty sure the Obon Festival's going on in Japan next week, so yeah, we got another 2-week break after this, so this is always kind of a rough time of year. This is also around the 2-year anniversary of when Bleach ended, so this early August isn't the greatest time of year for my memories. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy the review. There's a lot of action in this chapter. A lot of action. We're just going at it. Luffy and Zorro teaming up against Hawkins. It's great. I'm seeing red right now. Let's just do it. Okay, so first, though, we got the cover page, and it's been quite a while since the last time we've seen Orlumbus, and we're still going on with his serial. Like I said, this one is lasting a lot longer than all the other members of the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. I'm waiting for it, Oda. I'm waiting for this payoff. Let's see what we got this week. Orlumbus sails away from the island at 5 p.m., or 1700 hours. Can you not feel the heart-pounding excitement? I'm sure in this chapter they're sailing right toward Raftel. Oh, okay. Yeah, so Orlumbus attacked the island, but he realized that most of the people there were poor, and that reminded him of his own poor roots, you know, growing up, and so he decided to help out the people instead, and then they're sailing away, and then I'm imagining as they're sailing away, they're like, way to go, guys, good job being pirates, we totally raided and burned down that village. Actually, we didn't. Crap. So it's just like, well, we're good Samaritans, if nothing else. Yeah, but we're supposed to be pirates. Damn it. Orlumbus, you need to figure out what you want to do with your life. Hey, don't worry, though. I mean, the Straw Hats call themselves pirates. They don't go around murdering people wantingly, so there's a place for you to fit in this world, I'm sure. But, hey, it's only 5 p.m. We still got, like, 7 hours of the day left, so I'm waiting for it, Oda. Alright, let's get into it. This will be chapter 913, titled, Suru Repays the Favor. Oh, Osuru is going to appear in this chapter. You know, the Marine Vice Admiral, the older lady, the great tactician, the one that has the power of the Washu Washu no Mi, which literally allows her to change people into cloves and then hang them out to dry. It sounds weird, but you do not want to mess with that woman. But no, it's a different Suru. In fact, I'm okay with that, them having the same name, because that's what happens in real life. You run into people that have the same name all the time, right? So it's always kind of weird in a manga, especially a long-running manga like One Piece, where characters just always run into newly named people that never have names that overlap. But in this situation, it happened, and it makes perfect sense, okay? So anyway, we continue on with the epic standoff. We got Luffy and Zorro on one side. They've just been reunited in the last chapter. And then we have Basil Hawkins, the mage. Bounty, 320 million, which is pretty impressive. I'll give it to him. Not as impressive as Luffy with his 1.5 billion. Not saying that bounties mean strength or anything, but come on. In this situation, when there's that big of a gap, I mean, they kind of do. Like, I'm just saying, if you're like a 20 million berry bounty dude and you run across a 1 billion berry bounty dude, I don't think you should just be like in that situation, well, bounty doesn't necessarily mean strength, so I could totally take you on. It's probably not going to end well. Plus Zorro's there too, so, you know, tack on another 300 million whatever berries onto that, so it's closer to 2 billion, honestly. Hawkins, I think you really should have come here prepared, maybe with a few more people than just 2 guys, a few snakes, and that Kieran thing that you're riding on. Alright, Basil basically has extra lives like in a video game. Alright, well, let's see how this goes down. So before we even get into the actual fight, Luffy is, of course, brandishing the Nidai Katetsu, and I'm glad that Zorro, you know, he piqued his senses, like, oh, my swordsman's senses are tingling. You, JoJo. Okay, there we go. But anyway, yeah, Luffy is brandishing the Nidai Katetsu, and Zorro, you know, notices that, and he's just like, hey, whoa, wait a second, Luffy. I sense a presence from that sword. You know, Zorro's basically a demon already, so he could probably, you know, sense a demon sword a mile away, although he doesn't actually specify that the sword is cursed or there's a demon around it or anything. He actually specifies, like, that's a real-life Meito. That's a real name sword, isn't it, Luffy? That's not just a random katana you're swinging swinging around. And Luffy's like, oh yeah, he takes it out of its scabbard. And I'm like, okay, whoa, Luffy, careful where you swing that thing. I'm an entire dimension away from you right now, and I'm afraid of getting cut by that damn thing. But you're just like, oh yeah, whatever, it's a named if sword, it's something fancy. And Zorro's like, no, seriously, give that to me. So I'm glad that it's basically acting out how I explained it in the last review, where just like Zorro's like, no, you're not using that thing, give it to me first. And Luffy kind of refuses. He doesn't straight up say like, no, Zorro, it's mine, but he basically says, you know, don't worry, Zorro, it'll be fine. So he just tosses the scabbard on the ground. Zorro's like, don't! What are you, freaking idiot? Don't just throw the scabbard! I'm like, Zorro, it's a scabbard! It's just a holder for the sword. It doesn't have any real value. Alright, here we go! And for those of you wondering how Luffy was gonna fight with the sword, Gumu no pistol, and he punches someone with the sword handle, I guess. He doesn't really use the sword. He just punches people while happen to be holding a sword. So that's good, because I feel like if Luffy did attempt to use the blade, if he just like, Gumu no, you know, buzzsaw or whatever, that would have totally shredded a lot of people there, and there would have been a lot of blood, and you gotta be careful with shonen. I mean, you can have a little bit of blood, but, you know, you can't have this turn into Hellsing overnight. I don't think the editors would let, you know, Oda do that. So yeah, that's the joke. He punches him. It's just an ordinary pistol. It's just he happened to be holding the sword's handle at the same time. And Zoro's like, that's just an ordinary pistol. Now hurry up and give me the damn sword before you kill someone. Likely yourself. But not a lot of time to worry about that, because the giant lizard that one of Hawkins' men was riding on starts to attack Luffy. So that kind of adds a new dimension to this fight. It's not just you have to worry about Hawkins and his men, you also have to worry about their mounts, because from what we've seen, it seems like they have these giant lizards, giant snakes, the thing Hawkins is riding on, like a Kirin or something. Like, you really don't want to mess in general with any of these animals, these mythical creatures in Wano, so they can attack you too. Luffy, while still holding the sword, mind you, he doesn't let it go, jumps on top of this snake, grabs its eyes, and starts trying to wrangle it. I mean, little bit of dangerous there, and then he decides just to grab and, you know, pick up the thing and just chuck it straight at Hawkins. Now we see how Hawkins fights, okay, because we really haven't seen Hawkins fight that many times. We saw him against Kizaru, but that was a little unbalanced, to say the very least. And we you know, the thing with Brownbeard, you know, Hawkins defeated Brownbeard over the time skip, but we didn't actually get to see that fight. It was just Hawkins picked up his sword, and we got to see a little of the straw next to his eye, and then we just heard about it later from Brownbeard that Hawkins defeated him and his men, and when they were on Punk Hazard. So now we actually get to see how he fights. So he takes out his sword, and his sword itself begins to break apart into straw, and then he uses that to kind of stab the lizard, and it's actually really painful. The sword's name is Warabide, maybe? It's basically a play off of like the fern shoot sword or the grass shoot sword, but he changes it, Oda changes it to the straw shoot sword, because we find out in this chapter, skipping ahead a little bit, but I think it's pretty obvious to everyone watching or reading right now, the name of Hawkins' devil fruit is the straw fruit. So there you go. I mean, I was throwing out maybe like the voodoo fruit or whatever, but no, it's the straw fruit, which is interesting, because if it's not like, people have thought it was like a mythical zone, that's how he was able to do all the crazy tarot stuff, so it's actually very likely that his straw powers might just be an extension of like some natural powers he had, because remember, there's always weird people in One Piece that have like strange hypnotic abilities or clairvoyance abilities, like Mrs. Golden Week was able to do those color traps. That wasn't because of a devil fruit. She just had this weird inherent hypnosis ability to draw on people and affect their emotions. That's like a natural superpower she just had. And then you had people like Madame Charlie, who, you know, had this really large round object. Okay, I'm sorry, I made that joke before a lot. She had big boobs. Anyway, she also had the ability of clairvoyance and fortune telling to predict the future accurately. And so we've seen from Hawkins using his tarot cards, he could see the future too, and he could predict it in percentages, but also he has all these other crazy abilities, like to create voodoo dolls and like bestow life upon them from other people, so he can basically escape death, you know, so, and from other crazy shit we're gonna see him do in this chapter. I really wonder, like, did he have these powers already when he was born, and just when he ate the straw fruit, that just gave him, like, that was just the catalyst, that was just the way that he could, you know, utilize his powers to a greater level? Like, let me put it this way, for example. before Hawkins ate the straw fruit, could Hawkins take a bunch of straw and make a voodoo doll and do the same life thing? Except now, because he's actually made of straw, he could just, you know, pop them out at willy-nilly, however many he needs. There's an upper limit of 10, but still, like, did he have this power before it? Because from what I see, the straw fruit itself, it might just have the, like, basic ability to turn you into straw. And nails as well, like to summon nails, like, you know, scarecrows and shit. So that makes me wonder if somebody else aside from Hawkins ate the straw fruit, would they just have the ability to turn into straw and summon nails? They wouldn't have any of the voodoo? I don't know, because, you know, straw and voodoo are closely tied together because that's usually, you know, typically what you make the dolls out of. But I don't know, it's just a weird little thing here that Hawkins exhibits because he's such an interesting character. I've always loved him even when he appeared back at Sabaody, before he even fought against Kizaru, before we even knew what his real shtick was with everything and the tarot and the straw. I liked his design because he looks pretty cool. But yeah, he takes this sword out and it begins to break into straw, and he uses it to stab and basically just puncture this lizard like a fork or something to prevent it from hitting him. And Luffy feels kind of bad because he's the one that actually threw it at Hawkins. Like, man, I didn't think he was going to do that. I thought he was just going to kind of push it away or get hit by it, but he just, like, impaled it with all these wiggly little vine things. Like, just imagine that, you know, being punctured from all those different angles. So that's horrific. But anyway, moving on, we have Zorro off to the side, who's making quick work of Hawkins' men. And yeah, Zorro pretty much just takes his sword and does what I figured he was going to do. One slash, flying projectile, just BAM! Right in freaking Hawkins' face. And you know he felt that too, because yeah, he might have extra lives, but I guarantee you he could still feel pain, at least upon the moment of impact. He at least feels what's going on, because he's like grimacing and it's just like, yeah, okay, we're good. So yes, because Hawkins has his power to, you know, take the life force of others into his voodoo dolls and incorporate up to 10 of them in his body at any given time, he essentially has extra lives. So this attack would have, you know, mortally injured and killed Hawkins in one go. And I love Luffy off to the side. He's just like, whoa, in an instant. I mean, I knew we were good and everything, Straw Hat Pirates. Hey, Zorro, did I tell you I have 1.5 billion berry bounty now? Really, Luffy? That's crazy. How high is mine? You know, well, yours didn't actually change, but Sanji, on the other hand... Oh, maybe I shouldn't bring that up now. But no, seriously, Luffy's just like, whoa, that was easy. And of course, like, that's what I thought Oda was going to do, like, throw in at least one scene. I thought there was going to be more of these, honestly. I thought Luffy and Zorro were at least going to get one attack in each on Hawkins. Like, Zorro straight up almost cuts off his head, which he kind of almost does in this chapter, just not at the neck. And then Luffy, like, you know, gear, you know, second, Red Hawk right in Hawkins's stomach, and that will also be negated. Although, hey, fire versus, straw, it seems like the obvious weakness there. I don't know. Maybe that's how you could finish him off after you deplete, because he's not hard to kill. He really isn't. He's just more annoying to kill. Kind of like with Pika. You know, Zorro figured out the method of Pika pretty early on, but before he did, he was just an annoying opponent. So with Hawkins, all you really gotta do is just keep hammering him over and over again until you remove all of his voodoo dolls. In fact, when Kizaru fought him, didn't Kizaru knock out 2 at once from the light speed kick? Although that might have been because he kicked him upside the face with a light speed foot, and that would have removed one of the lives, because that would have been an instant death right there. But it also propelled Hawkins into a wall, which he hit, going at breakneck speed, so that also probably counted as a death. So I don't think it's 2 deaths from one kick, but just from the act of the kick and then the inertia being flung into a wall really fast also caused a death. So yeah, even if that's the case though, even if it's just like 1 attack per death, you could still just keep hammering him away. I mean, Luffy, even if you want to just like, you know, gear second, hockey up your arms, and then just, you know, jet gatling. That's gotta pound it in. Ooh, jet Red Hawk gatling. we need to see that. We need to see that. Probably not the first person to come up with that idea, but yeah, Jet Red Hawk Gatling. That's something we need to see. So yeah, Hawkins gets scraped upside the face, but it's not a big deal because one of his men just falls apart as their face begins bleeding profusely. Very loyal men that Hawkins has under his employ. These might not actually be members of his crew. These might just be low-tier members of Kaido's crew, and Kaido was just like, hey, yeah, you guys, follow Hawkins and become his extra lives, and they're super loyal to Kaido, and the alternative is to get killed by him. You know, get killed by Hawkins or get killed by Kaido. Pick one. And that's it. Oh, I forgot to mention, early on in this chapter, one of the first things they say is Hawkins walks out, and before the fight even starts, Hawkins is like, do you know who rules the shadows of this country? And, you know, Zorro is just like, nope, no idea. But Luffy's, of course, like, it's Kaido, right? I'm gonna beat the crap out of him. And Zorro is just like, Luffy, Kinemon said not to say stuff like that around here. And Luffy's just like, forget about what I just said. I was just kidding. Kaido, master of the country. Who's that? I don't know who that is. So that was funny. And we also got a little scene where he's doing his tarot card shit, and Hawkins says that, you know, the chances of you being alive after the end of this month are only 19%. See, I wouldn't be too afraid about that, though, because whereas Hawkins does have the ability to predict the percentages of things, this is also the shonen manga, and the Straw Hats are the main cast. So I wonder, even if he would have come out and said, you have a 1% chance of surviving at the end of this month, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're going against the odds, because I'm pretty damn sure the Straw Hats are not all going to get killed by the end of Wano. That would be, I can see a few problems with that, right? Okay, so anyway, that was just some stuff I missed at the beginning of the chapter here, but now we get into it. So after recovering from the blow, one of the voodoo dolls creeps out of Hawkins' arm, and of course its head is like slit in half where the damage was, and it falls, and Hawkins is like, life -1. Alright, okay, cool. And this is where we find out the name of his fruit, and also he actually has to explain, you know, if there are 10 of these, I can die 10 times. Okay, so he doesn't, I don't know if there's a translation error or what. I don't know if that's specifically stating that he has an upper limit of 10, or he's just giving that as an example. Like, for example, if I have 10 straw men, I can die 10 times. Because there has to be an upper limit. Right? There can't just be, like, I have an infinite amount of people in my body. Now, there's probably some sort of ritual he has to do. I would imagine maybe he has to, like, you know, straw up his hand and, like, touch somebody, or, I don't know, ram a nail through their heart. I don't know, man. Doing something to actually make you a voodoo doll. But if that was the situation, Hawkins is a pirate. He could just wander into a town somewhere, some random place that doesn't have any marine protection or whatever, just go into the town, round up all the citizens, and just do the ritual on all of them at once. I'm like, all right, we got 300 extra lives. Let's move on to the next town. So there's definitely a limit to what he could do. I'm just going to say it's 10 because that seems fair. That doesn't seem ridiculously OP if it was like 100 or 1,000 or something like that. So let's just say 10 is the upper limit. We might be wrong with that. We'll see. But we also have another power that he's exhibiting. Not just any ordinary devil fruit power, mind you, but this is Stando power! Hoo-yah! Yeah, so, Hawkins summons a large, sort of, vaguely human-shaped, eccentrically designed figure behind him to fight in his stead. Almost like it is standing behind him. You know, why has the Araki and Oda crossover not happened yet? JoJo's has been around since the freaking 80s. Oda's been around since the 90s. Come on, guys, get together and do the One Piece JoJo crossover. You know, just pick some random protagonist, like, I don't know, I could see Luffy hanging out with Jotaro. That would just be fucking hilarious, you know? Like, that would be super cool, right? Just do it. Have fun with it. Why not, right? Both of the most well-beloved manga of all time in Shonen Jump. Just keep it rolling, right? Alright, yeah, so, he uses his sword. It's not actually a stand. It's not, like, materializing out of nothing. He holds up his sword, and the straw on his blade begins to manifest this large, figure. Now let's start our little game, shall we? We'll start with my straw man's card. I'm not honorable enough to simply fight two of the worst generation head-on. Yeah, I would say I would not stupid enough to do that, rather than I'm not honorable. But you know, Hawkins is a very well-to-do gentleman, you know, figure. He is the person that will always, you know, talk very high class and such. And I'm imagining him always swirling some wine as he, you know, reads a nice book every evening before bed. You know, so he's that kind of guy. He's not gonna come out and say, "Oh man, I am not stupid enough to fight both of you one-on-one, you know, one-on-two." So you know, here we go, straw man time. So this thing is going to fight in his stead, but he also states that it's a game involving drawing cards. So we get to look at Hawkins's tarot deck, and fun fact, this is actually the first confirmation that we have in the story that it is in fact a tarot deck, because in the manga it was never actually shown the face of these cards. We always see the back of them whenever Hawkins is doing his prediction. You know, he's always like lays them out in front of them using his straw powers to prop them up. We never see the front of them. In the anime we got to see the death card be used in the anime, and of course it was used in the same way that a lot of other fiction uses the death card for the tarot, and it's, you know, ooh, spooky death card, Grim Reaper, you gonna die! You gonna die today! You drew the death card! Which it doesn't actually mean that, but you know what I mean. So he draws a card, and the first one we get is the Fool reversed. And I'm actually really happy now because I finally get to use this thing. Hold on, where is it? No. Okay, here it is. You know, I really can't explain how giddy I get whenever I'm reading a One Piece chapter and something like this is brought up, and I'm like, oh my god, I have a book about that kind of stuff. All right, so this is a massive book on nothing but just various symbology and images, and like even things like animals. Like it tells you, like, if you've ever wanted to know what the, you know, religious or cultural or mythological significance of the cow is symbolically, you can look it up in this book. So on top of all of that, it also has all of the different tarot cards in here, all the minor arcana and major arcana. So let's go to the Fool here. The Fool is number 0. Okay, blah, blah, blah. The Fool is commonly depicted as a young man in motley clothing. A dog jumps up at him and rips his clothes off, exposing his buttocks. That is the origin to Iggy. Oh god, why did I remember Iggy? Iggy, you were the best damn anime dog that ever existed on the face of this planet, and I dare you to challenge that claim. Iggy, forever in our hearts. No, seriously, Araki has this weird fetish for maiming animals, specifically dogs. That's one of the weirder things about Stardust Crusaders. Not just Stardust Crusaders, that's one of the weirder things about JoJo. Like, in every part, there's at some point some animal that's been horribly mutilated. And it's just like, okay. Like, even up to the most recent part, JoJolian, I think there was a chapter a little while ago that had that happen with a dog. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. Right then. Anyway, let's get back to the Fool, and, oh, check it out. That's actually the page on mannequins and voodoo dolls, so I can maybe read that later. But, yeah, going back to the Fool here, the image on the card suggests someone at the start of a journey. Okay, start of a journey, I would assume in reverse it means the end of a journey. In any case, Hawkin states that it's not a good card. It's actually a friendly fire card. Luffy and Zorro are getting really pumped. Well, Luffy's kind of confused. He's just like, a game? Zorro, on the other hand, he's doing his, like, game, let's do it, you know? So they're getting ready. So he draws the Fool, and it results in both of his men, I guess they attack each other by accident or something, and that's not a good card, he states. Like, I drew bad, you know? Okay, so let me try again, and I'll draw a better card this time. Some of my cards have the ability to make people surpass their own limits, so this is something rather confusing, I guess. Are the cards that he's drawing, are they affecting reality? Like when he draws a good card, good things happen to him automatically, or if he draws a bad card, misfortune befalls him or his men? Or is he just like predicting what will happen, like an extension of his fortune telling? Like, oh, I drew the, oh man, that's not good. My men are going to end up attacking each other. Yeah, there we go. Okay, moving on to the next one. Oh, I'm going to succeed in this next attack, and he succeeds. So the way he says it though, he states like, oh, my cards sometimes have the ability to make people surpass their limits. That's kind of implying like, his cards actually do affect, like, reality depending on what he draws. So it's complete happen chance what he ends up drawing. It could be a really good thing or a really bad thing, kind of like a deck of many things if you've ever played D&D, but whatever he draws does actually change current events. So anyway, he's about to draw the next card when all of a sudden the Koma Inu starts charging toward Luffy and Zorro and doesn't even really stop to pick them up, just kind of like chomps on them and just starts carrying them off in his mouth. And then it's just like, whoa, what's going on here, Koma? What's going on? And they find out that Tama's fever, remember that? Is getting really bad. In fact, they're looking at it, it's like, oh man, she's burning up like really bad now. Like the entire time this whole stare down has been going on and the reunion between Zorro and Luffy and everything. And hey Zorro, check out my sword, you know, Gummo Gummo no pistol. All of that while that's going on, a small child is slowly dying. So the Koma Inu is like finally like, alright, we gotta go because this is getting dangerous. So he just picks up Zorro and Luffy and starts charging off. Meanwhile, Hawkins draws another card, and this is in fact the Hierophant, or the Pope, and he draws it in reverse. Wait a second, the Hierophant, Kakyoin! Oh wait, sorry, spoilers. Kakyoin is perfectly fine! It is the card of pursuit. Once again, I can't tell in this situation if it's like, I draw this card and it affects reality, or I draw the card and it predicted what I was going to do already, because when your, foes are fleeing from you, it's common to pursue them. So it's like, oh, I drew the card that's gonna lead to pursuit. So it also might be like, he's like checking on what he should do next. Right? Because, like I said, when your enemies flee from you, you basically have two options. You can let them get away, or you could follow them. So when Hawkins is like, oh, no, hold on, let's check to see what I'm supposed to do next. The Hierophant, okay, I'm supposed to pursue them. If he had drawn another card that was about like, oh no, let them get away, he would have done it. Because Hawkins is a guy, and Oda has even come out and says this in an SBS, Hawkins is a guy that takes his tarot reading extremely seriously. Okay, he's the kind of guy that when he, like, reads his horoscope in the morning and it's just like, do not leave your house today. He's like, oh, well, not leaving my house today. Okay, that's it. So, and given the fact that a lot of his fortune telling is accurate, it makes perfect sense. So, if that was the situation, if he happened to draw a card that was like, leave them alone, he would have totally left them alone and be like, okay, we're not doing it. I'm not dying today. Let's get out of here. So, the giant straw man thing starts pursuing them. It has a giant bat with nails sticking out of it. Keep in mind, this whole thing just manifested out of Hawkins' sword. It has clothing, it has jewelry, it has a necklace, it has hair, it has eyes, it has a wooden bat with nails, it has nails for fingers itself. This thing is freaking demonic. Looks pretty cool. This thing alone, seeing what it could do, is kind of worth not having an extra One Piece chapter next week. Almost, not really, but you know what I mean. So it starts pursuing them like, I'm gonna nail you to the ground. And sure enough, it has the ability to spit black nails right out of its mouth. Is that a play on The Exorcist? I don't know. Anyway, Zorro tries to protect Luffy and Tama because Luffy's, holding her to make sure she doesn't get, probably knocked off or get attacked or anything. And Zorro's like blocking the nails and the giant bat spike thing with his sword, spits some nails out. They stab Zorro, but it's not a really big deal for him. All that's gonna happen there is like, imagine Zorro facing off against like a nail gun or something, like Zorro just I like the taste of blood in the morning. So, it's not really gonna do anything to him. But anyway, Zorro manages to knock it back, and then he uses his nigiri, the thing he used against Kaku, like nigiri, climbing tower, and then he uses that technique, and that slices the straw man right in half, and then we cut back over to Hawkins, who also feels some damage as well. However, it gets redirected again to one of his subordinates. So, from what it seems here, also, by the way, I thought there was only 2 guys that Hawkins had with him right now, but it looks like there's more than that, whatever. It's just how many men he thought were going to be necessary to fight against the Straw Hats. Also, it doesn't matter the distance, because what we saw in Sabaody when he got kicked by Kizaru, the men that were subjected to that voodoo death, they were like miles away from him. They were at like separate groves when it happened, so it doesn't really matter if he could have gone into this battle alone. And he could have still used the voodoo powers. It wouldn't have mattered. But anyway, yeah, so whenever the straw man is damaged, by, extension, Hawkins gets damaged. However, because Hawkins has the power of the extra lives, then his damage gets redirected again onto another one of his subordinates. So it's like, cut the straw man, cut Hawkins, and then cut the subordinate. So there you go. It's a pretty useful ability, but like a stand, once again referencing JoJo, it has the downside of if the stand gets injured, then the user also gets injured. For the most part, there's exemptions to this. There's certain stands that are long range, like Iggy's the Fool, for example. Iggy's the Fool is just made out of sand. So yeah, you can cut it and you can punch it and stuff, but Iggy himself doesn't actually take any physical damage. But most stands, that's the case. Then to figure out what happens next, Hawkins draws another card off the deck, and it turns out it's the Hierophant again. However, it's not reversed this time, it's face up, and he states that this is going to be a card of support now, which means that there's going to be someone else that's going to come to the Straw Hat's aid. So Hawkins doesn't straight up say, let's leave them alone, let's not follow them. He just kind of says, like, they're going to get help. So, given Hawkins, he might then do another fortune telling. He might, like, what's the percentage that new arrival is going to hinder me in some way? It's like 42%. I'm like, I don't know, do I want to risk it? That's the kind of thing. In fact, I don't know if Oda's going to straight up do this, but maybe he might go and give us a brief rundown of the tarot, at least how the tarot works in One Piece, because it's different. I mean, he's the mangaka, he decides the rules. He could mean, like, oh, the Fool and the Hierophant, or the Tower, or the Chariot, or the Star, the Zaworld. They all mean maybe different things or slightly askewed things in the One Piece world. Maybe Oda will have Hawkins explain what his different cards mean. Like I said, nothing too extensive. It's not like we're gonna get like all like 20-something cards of the freaking tarot, but something like that. We might get, a brief overview of what they mean just so the audience understands whenever Hawkins is doing his fortune-telling shit. So anyway, they all begin to run away, and on top of Koma Inu, there's also that woman. Remember the woman last chapter that was being chased that Zorro saved, right? So she's still there too, and she is actually the one that is Suru, or Osuru, because remember adding the O in front of the, female names in Wano. And she is she reminds me of a character from that gag manga in Shonen Jump. I forget its name, but you know which one I'm talking about, the really popular one. She reminds me of a character from that. She's like, oh, I've been hiding inside the dog's tail this entire time because I was, scared or whatever, because, crazy shit going on. Straw men attacking people, swords, rubber men. She's like, okay, I'm gonna just hide over here. So they're traveling, and Suru is actually already acquainted with Tama. She knows who she is and where she's from, and she's like, oh my god, did she drink the poison from the river? And they're like, yeah, she did. And Suru's just like, oh, okay, well, don't take her to a hospital, take her to my tea shop. And then, like, take her to a tea shop. This isn't time for drinking tea. And they're like, well, yeah, I know, but don't worry. I have herbs there that will be best suited for dealing with the toxins and the poisons in the river. So, seriously, I know this woman. I know this girl. Just take us to my tea shop. I'll be able to, brew medicine. I'll make her better. And so Luffy's like, oh, okay, that sounds like a good plan. Let's do that. So they all start heading to another location. Meanwhile, we cut over to another location as well on Wano Country Curry, Okabai Town, or the town of leftovers. And this seems to be also a rather rundown area in the middle of this wasteland. Probably at one point was a very thriving town before Kaido made the scene. But we have a moment here with a woman, a small girl, probably like teenage age, probably, and her name is Kikyo. I want to say Kikyo because that sounds like a typical like feudal era Japanese kind of name, like from Inuyasha, like Kikyo. Ooh, also, yeah, we have to have Inuyasha references in this arc as well. So can we get like Zorro coming up with a new technique called like Wind Scar or something? That would be great. Or like a fox demon guy with white hair. That would be great. Oda, you could do pretty much whatever you want here. There's a lot of anime that reference feudal Japan. I know Samurai Champloo was mostly the Edo period, but that doesn't matter. You could fit that in too. Like just fit in all these famous anime references on top of samurai movie references. But okay, yeah. We have Okiku here who's working at Osuru's tea shop.
Hey guys, just a little bit of supplemental information I just found out while editing this. I don't know if Oda's really going to go this road with it, but this character, Okiku, or just Kiku if you want to call her that, looks remarkably like another character named Kikuhime from the One Piece X Kyoto thing. And if you don't know what that is, that was like a promotional thing that for the 20th anniversary of One Piece they did in Kyoto, where you could run around the city and collect various Straw Hat stamps and get some merchandise. And there was also like a storyline that went along with it. And Oda wrote this story apparently and drew these characters, Kikuhime being one of them. Now, it could just be because, you know, the women in Wano might look very similar and everything like that, but Kikuhime, this might actually be Oda trying to integrate the story of One Piece X Kyoto into the actual manga. If that's the case, Kikuhime is a member of the Hitake family of a region of Wano called Yo, and the One Piece X Kyoto thing does actually take place in Wano, just in a different region than the Curry region that they're in now. So, you know, that definitely seems like something Oda would do. There's other characters here, like Torasugu, who has a mythical zone that allows him to transform into a mythical creature in Japanese lore called a Nue. So we might be seeing him in the future. I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up because the character is named Okiku, and she looks just like Kikuhime. It could be an alias. I'm not sure where Oda's going with it, but I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up.
And there's a very large man who is a sumo wrestler by the name of Urashima. Okay, Urashima. He's this big dude with rosy cheeks and a braided hair, and he's just like, "Oh, come on, Kiku, I could take care of you. I could have you eat the most finest rices in my plantation. Come on over." So that's actually kind of implying that this dude, this sumo wrestler guy, I actually thought he was Jinbei from a distance because he kind of looked like him, but he's just like, you know, "I'm a sumo wrestler, I could take care of you, girl." He might actually be in league with Kaido, because remember it was stated in the last chapter that, you know, all of Wano is polluted and everything except for the flower capital, and Kaido and his men, and I would assume the Shogun and his men as well, they all have private plantations where they make their food, so their food is clean. So he's either in league with the Shogun to the point where he can, you know, partake of this private plantation, because you figure that private plantation food, there's not very much of that. It's probably only for, like, the higher-ranking members of Kaido and the Shogun's echelon, as well with the Shogun and Kaido themselves, that would actually be able to partake of this food, because there's just not that much of it, because most of the country is polluted. So he might be, like, in this kind of, you know, group here, this high echelon of the Shogun or something. He also is wielding 2 swords as well, but he states his profession is, you know, sumo, so we'll probably see some sumo action from him. We then see the Koma Inu riding close to the tea shop. Okyukyu comes out, Okikyo, whatever her name is. She comes out and shouts over, like, "Oh, Suru-san, how you doing?" By the way, the woman completely rejects the samurai. She's just like, "I think we're just 2 different people. It's not you, it's me," you know, that kind of stuff. Anyway, she's like, "Oh, Osuru-sama, you're back." And Osuru's like, "Oh, you gotta put on that special herb and boil it. There's a, you know, Otama here, she's sick." And she's like, "Oh my god, I'll get ready, you know, get on to it right away." And so that's pretty much where we end the chapter on Luffy and Zorro and Osuru's side. The last scene is we cut over to a certain mountaintop. Okay. Whenever Oda uses that, tuck that in the back of your mind for right now, because whenever Oda does that, you know, "on a certain island in the new world, on a certain mountain," that usually ends up going somewhere, and that usually means the name of that mountain or that island or that town or whatever is kind of relevant. So a certain mountain, this might be the playoff Mount Fuji. Maybe, who knows, we'll see, but it's just a certain mountain. It's probably going to be more than just a certain mountain. But anyway, on top of this certain mountain, we got 3 guys that it's been a while since we've seen. We got Sachi, we got Penguin, and we got Beppo, the true captain of the Heart Pirates. I'm a bear. I love Beppo. How could you not, right? It's been forever since we've seen you, dude. "Hey, Beppo, what's up? Bump it, bear." But anyway, yeah, they're sitting there. They're all wearing kimonos that have the Heart Pirate logo, Jolly Roger, on it. Beppo's has little fish on it, so that's cute. Get it? Because he's a bear. That's actually kind of horrifying. I can imagine Beppo just being like waking up in the morning, like he's like Yogi Bear or Winnie the Pooh or whatever, like an adorable cartoon bear, like, "Ooh, I had a good nap." And then he's walking down to the river, and like Penguin and Sachi are down there fishing, and like, "Oh, hey, Beppo, good morning. You eating, you know, you're here for breakfast?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just came down for some fish." That was pretty good, Simon. And then just wanders back to the ship or the submarine or whatever, and Sachi and Penguin are just like, Because he's still a bear, you know? He's a bear mink. He's still a bear, though. So, yeah, they look awesome, and maybe we'll get to see Law next chapter. Maybe Law Tekking will be making a comeback next chapter, guys. Who knows? We have to wait an extra week for that, but we'll see. And they're just kind of standing there, and they're just observing the situation with Straw Hat, and they're like, oh, that's Straw Hat and Zorro, isn't it? Yeah, they're getting into trouble, aren't they? It's like, yeah, we should probably go and see if we could stop them. And Beppo suggests that he goes, but they're like, no, you're going to stand out too much because, you know, you're a polar bear. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, I am. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. Also, I forgot to bring this up. I wanted to bring it up in the last chapter review, but the whole reason Zorro is probably running around this random wasteland is because the whole situation with, remember the seppuku, you know, where he, you know, cut down that noble dude and you know, shredded that house, and then he probably had to escape, right? He probably couldn't stay in that town anymore, so that's probably why he was running around the wastelands, and that's how he ran into Luffy. But it also probably means that the capital is not tremendously far off from where Luffy and Zorro are right now in Leftover Town, so that kind of seems like a, you know, like a Totland area, you know, welcome to Leftover Town. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I really like this chapter. I like all the cool things that we could see Hawkins do. He was really the MVP for the chapter, showing off all the cool straw powers he had. With the Wara Wara Nomi, we found out the name of his fruit. Don't really know, once again, a lot about it. I'm going to say that a lot of his powers actually come from other things other than, you know, just his devil fruit, unless you want to say it's a special paramecia like Katakuri's, or it's like a mythical zone. I'm sure it's not a mythical zone, though. So, yeah, that might be the situation there, and we'll maybe see what happens, because like I said, Hawkins was just kind of like, you know, oh, this card says that they're going to have an ally. It doesn't say, like, you know, stop pursuing them, and in Hawkins, we don't really get to see much of him after that. I mean, Hawkins himself might have been like, it's not worth it, and left, but we'll see. As for the whole thing with Hawkins saying, you know, there's a 19% chance you'll be alive at the end of the month, you know, so there's a 71%, wait, 81% chance that you'll be dead by the end of the month. Yeah, I don't think that's going to go down. I highly doubt that. The most you could probably have with that is like, oh no, one of the Straw Hats got brutally injured, but then they get healed. I'm like, oh, okay, we're good. But yeah, other than that, we got introduced to Osuru and Okiku. Those will probably be relevant characters to the arc, I'm sure. People are saying that Otama is going to be the next member of the crew. I don't know about that because she's still a little kid, but we'll see how that happens. I'm not really super interested in the sumo guy, but he might turn out to be working for Kaido, and he might know the ins and outs of everything, and then he might turn over to the Straw Hat side or something, and then he might, you know, explain what happened and you know, how to get into the capital or something. Like, that would be cool. But we'll see. We'll see how it's going to go, and maybe we'll get some more of Hawkins. So thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out, and please, for the love of God, be careful with your cursed blades. And, yeah, also, check out Tarot. I did that video for Hawkins, and that's why I have all this stuff, but I haven't really been following up on it, so I should probably keep reading. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101, signing out.